while we do this, if you felt the pressure, what were your conversations with him like at this point with respect to,
Well, I think
me?
it was funny talking to him because he was very surprised. He was like, "Oh, Ed actually did exactly what he said he would do," and I swear that was like deja vu because I heard that like 3 or 4 times in our discussions. And so I, at one point, I mean, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking here like, oh, like Ed, he's really working on Tommy. Like this is his thing. Like if he, like I can't let him turn Tommy against me. So I always wanted to talk to Tommy, reassure Tommy, keep the wheels on the cart here, and keep things humming along. So, but I knew in the back of my head you were really pushing hard, and then not only pushing hard for him to come my way, but also following through on your end with the moves you were doing. So, and Tommy, he saw that. He did realize that
Yeah.
you were being honest with him.
So after the last set of moves, right, it's clear that Tommy's not ready to join on board. So I take the Ionian. At this time, it was good. It turns out to be critical. Next move, I think, turns out to be a critical error coming up, and I'm just doing what I can, hoping for the stab. We get Russia up. We're getting his fleet out.
So have
Uh,
you given up on Ben at this point? Because now you're really pushing hard on against Ben and getting Rush up onto the line.
yeah, I've given up on Ben. I mean, he's not going to move. Uh, he was not. He was not going to move, and the thought process was they've got to get really spread out. Russia's compact with his lines. He's going to get a piff. So we saw that, and that you would get a piff on Finland. And I'm like, that's not going to be bad. That's not going to be bad for us at all. And so, yeah, here is just all about trying to just shore up the line and get you guys to. It's like I kind of repeating myself, but that is the only plan. There was no triple in effect now. First of all, as you can see, there's only two powers in the East. So if anything, it's a double. You've
Well, I
effectively
don't think
killed the
that's any.
triple.
I think that's. I think you get all the credit for that, Ed, in your treatment of Italy. Oh, poor Italy. He really fell by the wayside there. I think you had a big hand in that yourself. So,
Yeah, a little bit.
but
Uh,
this is really where I decide. Hey, I really like Ben. I was going to take him out earlier, but now's the time. He's getting pushed back into Berlin. You guys are on the line. Um, Now's the time for me to take my shot. He's wide open. I can walk right into Holland. I can walk in. I can take Denmark. But I have a decision to let Tommy know or not if I'm going to do this.
what do you do?
And well, I think you were talking with him so much, Ed, and this is where you really helped my game out. I think you were talking with him so much that I didn't get a chance to confirm anything with him, or else I would have told him I was doing it. But it worked out in my best interest to actually have him. If we can go to the fall moves, it actually worked out in my interest to not tell him so that he kept supporting Munich, so you guys didn't take it.
Well, right, and he could have taken Kiel.
Yeah, he would
Uh,
have walked in. He would have walked into Kiel if I would have let him know. And that's where I think you were helping my game secretly from the sidelines there, Ed, because
oh,
since you were tying him up, I never got the opportunity to talk to him about it.
damn, you're killing me, John.
And
Uh,
so
but
because of
I,
that, you didn't get Munich. He kept supporting Munich. He didn't get a build from Kiel. Then I got 2 builds off Germany. Yeah, this is in the fall '05.
yeah, actually, I wanted to tell you, I really liked your builds here because right after you stab Germany, you give sort of an ultimate sign to France. I mean, there's no negotiations during the build, but France builds a fleet, you build two armies. I think you can use this as a negotiating tactic with France. Like, look, my fleets are only positioned in such a way that they can't convoy to you.
Right. Yeah. The idea was never to go against Tommy at this point. Build armies, make him feel comfortable. I thought he'd be building a fleet, but if I would have built a fleet here, then that would have been a huge red flag. So I got to keep building armies, which is good for me. It gives me more time to get position on the mainland while Tommy's busy in the Mediterranean. So there's no point in building a fleet here and rushing things. There's plenty of time to set it up for the long game. So I think, yeah, double army was the way to go.
Yeah,
But
I
I
mean,
see
I
another
built.
fleet from you, Ed.
Well, they criticized me about this on DBN, but I mean, I was just doing the math. Um, I wanted to have a fleet advantage in the Med. So that would have been our fourth fleet. And I knew the armies were going to get back up pretty quickly. So I didn't view this to be controversial at all, but kind of was.
Well, I totally understand your position here, right? Because, at the same time where you're trying to get Tommy to peel away and work with you and head north, you also have to protect your underbelly, right? This is your weakness. He's in the Ionian. So, I mean, it's totally reasonable for you to build a fleet and protect yourself. It's just hard to do both, right? To protect yourself and then also try to get Tommy to turn, because you really have to protect your underbelly and your centers there. But it's kind of, you have to kind of go out on a little bit on a branch here, throw Tommy an olive branch and build an army and say, hey, I'm with you. I'm not going to put any more fleets in here. You really need to go after England at this point. But no, I totally understand the move. And
it was my dilemma every time. And the other dilemma I had was, how am I going to get Russia to move his units in such a way that I can take as many of them as possible?
So even at this point, Ed, you were already setting up for the big stab on Russia. Even with everything going on, the French fleets in Ionian, England up in STP. At this point, you were thinking, how am I going to get the one up on Russia?
Well, I viewed you as getting three dots pretty easily if you wanted them, and I didn't know how I was going to get 4 without attacking Russia.
Right.
So, that was sort of just ever present in my mind, which is.
I just feel like at this point, he's your biggest asset. Like, you need him to, to lock down the north, to push me and Tommy against each other. And so.
No, I do, and I continue with that for. I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't. A, been desperate, or B, thought it wouldn't have worked. It was just a desperation move when it happened. But I was thinking about doing it if I needed to do it. But as you can see here, I convinced Russia to go to Greece with the army and trade them Constantinople for Greece in the spring. And then we have enough fleets to get into the Ionian in the next year, or the next season.
So walk me through those negotiations. How did he think that was a good idea for his game? And not use that fleet for something better, like a supported attack on Ionian or anything?
Well, I don't know. I was just like, what are our two armies doing here? We got to get them out. And he's like, yeah. I said, well, why don't you just convoy to Greece? That way France can't do anything with that, and I'll take Con, and we're even. Russia was just obsessed with, trading one for one, but I don't think he was thinking about, like, what he was actually doing to his pieces upon my suggestions, if that makes any sense.
Well, I think this is kind of a pattern of what we've seen from you earlier. You do a really good job of putting your allies out front and protecting your backside, right? So, like, pushing Italy up into Tyrolia while you stay in Trieste. And now with this move, pushing Con forward into Greece, and now you're secure back behind it in Con. I mean, it's a really smart play, right? You're protecting yourself. You're behind. You're pushing your allies forward. You're getting them on the front lines, putting them between you and your overall enemy. So I think that's a really smart play on your part.
One thing I've learned from Russ is you got to keep your options open. That's what Russ always, or Humble, that's what he always talks about, is keeping your options open. And that's really all I was trying to do. But I don't think Russia thought I would stab him for the same reasons you were like, why would you? You need him. And at that point, I did need him. So, but it was always in the back of my head because I think at this point, Russia asked me, and I don't know if you prompted this or if he just came up. He goes, what are your goals for this game? Which, and I said, well, I'd like to board top, but I'm happy to share a board top with you. And he goes, that sounds good. And he didn't press me back at all about how are we going to do that.
Right. Well, I don't know if this was the point, or maybe it was 1907. I started to come to you and kind of put some fillers out to see how you would feel about me topping the board, just to kind of get your reaction. I think I approached you and said, hey, I think we're getting into this a little later, a couple years down the road, but it was, how
Well,
do you feel
yeah,
about
we had
me
had
topping the board?
conversations.
And you totally snuffed that out, Ed. You weren't having any of that. You were like, no, it's a joint board top between us and nothing. So I knew you were going to take a lot more work to try to work on and figure it out. So
Yeah, no, I mean, it is what it is. What it is.
so how did you feel about? I guess in the spring. So I convoyed down to Belgium. I thought Tommy would be okay with that. He never said anything about it. The idea was, it was completely innocent, like David Hood said in the analysis. I was just going to go up to Holland like I'm doing now, take in Kiel. I actually talked with Yarmir in Russia and said he could have Belgium, but then I decided, hey, maybe it's best to just support, or excuse me, Berlin. And I thought, it's probably best to not let him in there just yet. So I supported Berlin, but the big story here is the positional stab of Tommy in France into the Irish Sea, and I think this is one of two big pivotal moments of the game right here. And I want to know how much of your fingerprints were on this, Ed, of this horrible stab.
Well, he made this decision. Tommy may remember differently, and it's hard to piece it together, but he definitely told me he was doing it. He definitely told me he was, moving to Irish, and he was making a move on you. And in my head, I was thinking to myself, well, surely he's going to do more than just move one fleet to the Irish. Like, I expected Tunis to go to North Africa, So, I saw this, and I can't tell you I thought this is a stab. I'm like, you were getting a build. I'm like, I don't understand this. But he takes Venice, which would, at least to me, indicate he's not working with me at this point.
Well, I mean, if you're going to do a positional stab on somebody, right, you want to do that in the spring. I mean, doing it in the fall is just, you're losing, the element of surprise is completely gone, and you're coming after me with one fleet. Like, what are you going to do? And I'm getting a build in the fall. So it's like, of course I'm going to build Fleet Liverpool. So this is just a very, it was a very failed stab right from the beginning. So I don't know how much of this was Tommy's idea or you really pushing him, from behind the scenes to do this. But
well, I was pushing him every
turn. It didn't make any sense from my perspective. And what it really did was it gave me kind of a casus belli to then, work on Tommy, right? So
yeah, well, I didn't like. I worked on Tommy every turn, but I wouldn't put my fingerprints on anything Tommy did, because Tommy was definitely playing his own game in my mind.
Right. How did things go in the south there around Italy?
Well, we get the Ionian back, which I had stupidly lost before, and then they take Venice. But I have a little bit of hope right now, thinking that maybe France will have angered you so much that surely France has to move something back. I can offer no threat to him at this point. And I'll get a build because the army's piffed. I think I get a build. Well, anyways, I get a build. The thinking was that surely he's going to know I can't touch him, and that he's angered the beast over here. So that's kind of what's going on. Meanwhile, I tell Russia I get him to the Ionian, more of the same, which is you get out in front sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. And I don't remember being upset by this. I think I was just like my mouth was to the floor, just surprised, because I'm like, if you're gonna stab me, put some punch behind it. I mean, don't just move one fleet into the Irish Sea, and so, especially when I'm getting a build. And so I was just surprised by it. And that's what really opened up the door where I was talking to him. I think we still work some things out. He said he was going to keep moving south, but then, he supports himself into English, and we'll see here in the spring. But I'm kind of
I think he could have taken Belgium, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he could have walked back, but maybe he was more interested in keeping you out of Munich.
Well, that's true. But I told him he could have Munich. So
you offered to support him in, and
right, which is what happens here, as you can see. This is me trying to encourage him to continue on.
I think we.
Did I jump a season?
No, I don't think so. No, you guys take Munich later on.
Next turn. We're in the spring. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, but this is all part of the. At this point, Ben is like, "What should I do?" It's Germany. I'm like, "Take Burgundy. Run for Burgundy." That's what you should do. Like, I just want chaos. Nothing more than chaos. I told Tommy that I would make a move on Venice for appearances, so he might want to block it. And at this point, I thought I had a chance because France is moving in this direction, and I'm feeling okay. And you're getting ready to mount the attack.
Well, I'm still trying to. I really just hold down the fort and support myself because I don't really know what Tommy and Ben are going to do in this point. I'm happy that Ben is running away in Germany to Burgundy to take Paris. I mean, that's just beautiful. And I'm glad you're happy about it too, because it's kind of some funny foreshadowing to what is going to come with your troubles in Serbia. But yeah, I'm just being cautious. I'm moving over to Norwegian. I'm going to defend myself against Tommy, but I'm still working with or trying to work with Tommy to get him to maintain his position in the south. I do not want him to just full scale, come back into the home countries and just leave it open for you two in the south. So.
All right. So as we move to the fall, you can see
we all support him into Munich.
Everybody, if there's one thing we can agree on, it's that France can take Munich.
Yes. No dispute about that.
France tells me he's doing all these other moves, and I'm looking at the board at 7. So I'm thinking to myself, this is where I got to make my move. I tell Russia I'll convoy him to Apulia, take Greece coming in behind him, take Smyrna, take Romania, and I feel like Russia's really far away from me. The only thing is, I had no idea what to do with Trieste. I knew I was going to get 3. I could have moved him to Albania. The debate was go to Albania or hold. And I was just like, I'll just hit Venice. I know it has no chance of success, but I couldn't afford to lose Trieste. I kept I'm like, if I go up 3 and down 1, I would. But, why would he have taken Trieste? I should have vacated. But you start worrying about all these little what ifs sometimes when you're about to do a big stab that I overthought it. This is one of my 4 mistakes. This third one here was not getting that third build at this time.
Well, I think it was smart for you to play a little more conservative. I mean, in your talks with Tommy, what did he say he was doing with Venice? He didn't say he was pulling back, did he?
No, he certainly did not. And he had lied to me so many times. So I was concerned that he might just take a stab if he knew exactly what I was doing with Russia. I didn't tell him I was taking 3. I just said, you're going to be happy with what I do. Okay, you're not going to be mad at all. So I didn't really know what I was going to do.
I think there's a pretty good, about an 80% chance he's not going to move, right? I mean, you have 3 dots on Venice. So, I mean, if you wanted to, he was showing a little bit of trust for you moving it to Mar. He almost had to because, I don't know. I would have triple supported Venice because, Burgundy's going to take Paris, Mar either way, so why move back? But I mean, he probably thought you were just gonna maybe make a play on it, so he's not gonna. I think the last thing he would want to do is move into Trieste. So maybe you would have been safe to move out, but it's just one of those things. Hindsight.
Yeah,
Right?
hindsight would have been.
But I
Yeah,
mean,
so
this move you did here, Ed, like this is just brilliant, right? This is the what people pay the price of admission to come watch diplomacy. Is to see these big 3-dot stabs. I mean, this is like, if I can put it in a football term, you've been grounded and pounded all game, and now you're setting up for the play action pass. You run the bootleg, you roll out, you bomb it down the field for 50 yards for the touchdown. Like this is just beautiful. I love seeing this. I mean, especially, I mean, the icing on the cake here is you convoy him out of Greece into Apulia and then just walk in with Albania. I absolutely love this, and I think this is really the key moment of this game. This is the most exciting set of moves right here. So it was definitely fun to watch as a fan of diplomacy, but it was also a big head scratcher trying to get into the head of Yaromir in Russia and what he was thinking here, leaving himself completely exposed to you to do this. But I mean, an absolute beautiful set of orders on your part, and I love the convoy. Just the icing on the top.
I appreciate it. I wish I could have followed through better, but at this point, I felt like at least I have a chance, right? I got France going all the way west, got Russia crippled, and so I'm like, okay, maybe France will continue with you, give me some room against Russia, and I had dreams, futile dreams of board topping at this point, but I'm suspecting you saw all this and are like, Tommy, what are we doing? And just got 3 rushes on the ropes. You moved away from them. We got to get the band back together again.
Yeah, I think, Ed, if there's just one small critique I can make here is like, this is really the big juicy prize to go for, right? Oh man, the big 3-dot stab. I'm going to convoy him out. It's going to look super flashy. I mean, it's a sight to behold. But then again, from my perspective, I mean, this is perfect for me because now, I mean, you've totally just killed that relationship with Russia. I can now pull Russia onto my side. I still got a good relationship with Ben, and I still have a working relationship with Tommy. And so I'm just seeing, and then when you go up big like that, that just is more ammunition for me to get Tommy to try to turn around. So I mean, it was a big explosive play from you. But it was also a nice little gift wrap present for me in the end as well.
Yeah, but kind of like maybe I could have been more patient, but I'm not sure the outcome would have been different. I was already 3 down from you at this point, so I was just trying to stay even, which is the way I pitched it to France. It's like I'm just trying to stay even. So.
Well, it's hard to do because maybe you wait until Tommy moves further west, right? But then you
Right.
also have Russia here that wants to keep pushing, right? So I mean, what do? I understand you're kind of stuck at that point because maybe you wait until Tommy moves further west and then you get a bigger stab, but then you also got to placate Russia, keep him, doing some moves where you guys are working together. If all of a sudden you're like, hey, Russia, let's not attack Tommy anymore, that seems a little. It's like, what is he going to do with those southern units now? But I mean, this was a gift for me because it completely got Yaromir in Russia. I mean, I'm just saying, hey, yeah, I'll pick up the pieces here. I'll take all these damaged people and I'll bring them over on my side and have them work with me. So it was a gift for me to get Russia there, but I think it was just too good of an opportunity for you to pass up, right?
Yeah.
But
error number 4 for me, John, maybe my biggest one.
But it was fun to watch, and it made the game exciting for the commentators and everybody watching.
No, not the stab, right? Which I don't think was an error. I think it was just what I had to do. But I'm talking about now the spring of 2008. I moved out of Greece. I was constantly worried about what's Ionian going to do. And how do I protect? What if he moves to Aegean? And I just assumed that was his best move, was moving to the Aegean, and I just didn't. I'm going to admit something to our listeners here. The only thing I thought was going to move to Greece was the fleet. I didn't think about the convoy, even though I was the
Yeah.
idiot who just convoyed him to Apulia. So I certainly knew a convoy could occur. Uh, it,
Oh,
it just didn't cross my mind. So I thought, well, if the fleet takes Greece, I'll just get it, I'll trap it and be fine. And like I'm here, I'm like, I'm just kicking myself for like what an idiot I am that he just simply convoyed the army back. Now I know, you know, uh, what am I going to do? And I was constantly worried about it, and that was dumb. And so this sealed my fate. Whatever fate I had here, I think
well,
was
don't beat
done.
yourself up. Don't beat yourself up too bad, Eddie, because I think one of the greatest things you did is going to come here in a few more seasons, and it was my greatest error, and it was because of you. So you still have your opportunity in the sun here
Oh,
coming
I'm
up.
very
But
excited to find out
I
what
would,
that was because I don't know yet. But
I would
here
say
we
that.
go. Here are the fall moves. I mean,
Well,
what?
well,
Yeah.
Ed, if I could just comment on that, I think I went and I talked with Russia Yarden, and I said, just convoy back to Greece. He's got to cover Aegean. I think that was
Ah,
the right. That was the right move by you because like, you cannot let a fleet into Aegean, right? Like you
right.
just cannot let that happen. You have to cover it, and that's what I told him. I said he's got to cover Aegean, so just convoy back into Greece. And I'm glad Tommy didn't attack that convoy and dislodge it, because having that convoy go through and be completed was just it was beautiful, and then it became a thorn in your side for the rest of the game.
It did, and I shouldn't have messed with it, and I did, and it just made everything worse. But okay, fine. So this is really where I call the beginning of the end. Uh, for me, and you begin on the glide path to getting where you need to be. You get France already started to move back, and uh, and you've got a good story to tell all your neighbors, and you take advantage of it, I think, really well.
Well, I think at this point, like Yarmir in Russia, we're pretty close. He's happy to work with me. He's even happy to work with me even after I take Berlin from him. And he's happy to sow chaos in the south. And funny enough, Ben, um, I'm telling him, hey Ben, we enjoyed talking with you. We like having you around. Ben was in most of me and Tommy's conversations, even though he's just this one dot power here sitting in Paris. And I think Ben was in the majority of me and Tommy's conversations. And so, we brought him in, made him feel like part of the team, and it was fun having him, in those discussions. So, just keeping Ben close, keeping Yarmir close in Russia, and then constantly talking with Tommy. It really helped me out. We were kind of doing a lot of negotiations over here in the West. Um, I didn't get a chance to talk about it before, but a few moves back, Tommy was in English Channel and I was in North, and London was open. And we had a really serious talk about it. And I said, Tommy, like, I want you to bounce me in London. And then I came down to the wire. I'm like, Tommy, you better not move to North Sea. If you move to North Sea, you're dead to me. And he's like, okay. He's like, I'll change the order. And so he changed it to London. And so I think if he would have done that and he would have gotten to North Sea, it really would. Then I would have had somebody, a thorn in my side, floating around, right, and being a pain in the butt. So that was a big. But
Hard
I
to
think,
hear that, right? It's like everything's always so close, and
but
sort of. I wish I could have had that influence, but you know what? You got along really well with Tommy. I did too, but you guys had a better bond, and you know, ultimately he wanted you to board top. You got him. You got an ally that knew he was not going to board top and was willing to help you, whereas I had no one willing to help me board top, and that was a huge difference.
well, and I think I mean, I don't want to be critical. Just a slight critique. When you put Italy, when you didn't support him in Smyrna and just let him die, and then the big stab on Russia, it's like you're not really building an ally through that. I know you put all your eggs in your basket with Tommy, right? And you were
Right.
totally honest with Tommy. And I think that's kind of where you were hoping the breakthrough would come from. But Tommy,
Yes.
he just kept pushing and pushing, despite. And I've been in your shoes, Ed. I've been in your shoes where I've been open and honest with a person. I really wanted them to work with me, and they just stabbed me like 3 seasons in a row, right? But I feel like I'm in a position where I can't adjust. I just got to keep like that is my path to victory is to get this person to turn. So I'm going to keep being honest with them. I'm going to do everything I can to work with them, but they're just going to take full advantage of me. And I think that was the position you and Tommy were in.
That's actually, my mindset was I have to grow and I have to keep up. And, and so if you watch my other games, I'm very much an alliance player. That's how I like to play games. That's what I typically do. And I didn't stab at the end of my game one in the tournament. And I haven't stabbed a lot. Oh, I've done it obviously, but not in a big way. But I probably would have used Italy more if I had viewed him to be a person that could reliably enter orders.
Right.
That failure to enter the orders, like, how can I work with you? But you're right. I could have used Italy to stifle up France a little bit more. I put my eggs in the Tommy basket, but of course that basket already had another fan named John, and John here picks up 3 in the spring of '09, and or is about to, and no, he picked it up in '08. He picked up 3. You're in a good spot.
Well, and Tommy too. I think Tommy, he realized that he would be doing the recordings for the final board. So he's like, it doesn't matter if I top anyway. And we built a good rapport together. So at this point, said he was happy to take second place, and so that's really where I was working on, getting in a position to take second place. But you seem to stymie that here, and we're going to find out here in a couple seasons. But because I don't really push hard into MAO. You'll see here. I think next season what I mean by it. But sure. We have been in these conversations with Tommy and Ben. We're having a good time. We're just chatting along, and Yarimir's with us. I think there was a lot of times the 4 of us were just in a conversation together, and I felt kind of bad because you were kind of on the outs, and. Well, I'll just spoil it now. Or I'll cite.
Here, let me move forward to 10. I will say I remember a conversation. You called me at this point, or got me on the Discord, and were like, "You're at 13. I'm at 13. You're at 9 or 10 or whatever it is." It's like, you don't have a chance, right? And I'm like, I got to keep trying. I got to see if I can come up with something here. And you're like, I'm just going to keep pushing. And so I respected that. But I saw my grip, decreasing slowly and slowly. Here in spring 10, you get France into Vienna, and it all feels like it's coming apart for me. Tell me what I did that was good.
Well, I would say, well, at this point, like with Tommy, like I'm not, like you see how I hold in North. I don't cycle into England, go up to Irish and make a push on it, right? I'm kind of slow rolling things in the West to keep them on board. But what you did good here was actually in the following turn. We get Tommy in Vienna, things are looking good. I'm telling Tommy, hey, we're going to get you to second place, all board top. We'll keep Yaramir alive. We'll keep Ben alive. We'll all be one big happy family. But my mistake was feeling a little bit of sympathy for you, Ed, because the 4 of us were in a room together a lot of the times, and you were by yourself. And I think it was in the fall. It was somewhere in this year where we didn't go off into rooms, right? We all just stayed together on the table talked. And I think that's where you really shined, and that was kind of the nail in my coffin because, instead of kind of controlling the narrative and having you on the outs, now you're here at the table with us, and you're telling everybody, like, we got to keep John from getting a solo, right? And at this point, I was really trying to push, hey, just let me get one more. I don't want to miss the tournament by, 1 center. Let me get 14, let me get 15. And you really pushed back hard on that. And I started to see Tommy slip away a little bit in France. He was kind of coming along to your way of thinking. And that, kind of really stifled me. And then I really gave up all aspects of trying to go for a solo. But then at that point, I realized, hey, I'm not going to get, what was it, 16, 15, 16, I think I had it on 14. And yeah. I really give credit for you, and having you in the table with us, having everyone together. Because then once everybody's together talking, you're kind of in that draw phase. Stuff starts to cement and solidify, and you started to kind of turn these guys against me a little bit. And I
So
wasn't able to
what I remember about that is that you told me privately that you would take a draw at 13. And then somewhere along the line, it became 15, 14, and then 15. And we're just going to keep pushing Tommy through. And I think this is where I got my my Irish up a little bit. I don't usually deploy it too much, but I think I had caught you in a couple of things out, and I dominated the conversation, which people think I do naturally, but I really tried to point out some what I thought were inconsistencies. Oh, you want 14? Oh, now it's 15, and and I kept pushing that, and I think you asked a question, right? You're like, is anyone against me getting 15? And I think it was Tommy who said at that point, you're like, no, you're not going to get 15 or something like that, right?
It was because of you, Ed. You were working on him. That's what I'm saying. I should have just kept him, the four of us in a group together, instead of being on table talk with you, then having you work your little sly magic on everybody. But I honestly was sincerely thinking about just taking Budapest, right? That's what we talked about. I said, hey, I'll take Budapest and we'll call the game. But it was great on your part because this kind of bought you time to clean up Russia a little bit. And I think you were hoping to just, because you offered Warsaw. So you're like, no, I'm not going to give up anything of mine, but you can have Warsaw, which isn't mine.
And he's right there in the room.
Yeah. So I'm like, I was trying to tell everybody, I'm like, how does this make sense? This is perfect for Ed. Ed gives away something that is not his, and it buys him time to clean up, Smyrna and Serbia and all that mess. And I was happy Russia ended on one in Rome, but I could see what you were doing, Ed, and it worked out great for you. But that was my biggest mistake this game, was letting us all sit in that table talk and giving you the room to work your lawyer magic and convince these guys to not let me take Bud and end it on 15. So that was a great diplomatic move by you and my biggest mistake this game.
I think the argument that 14 wasn't enough to advance was going to be difficult. I know you were rightly worried, and I would have been too if I was in your position. But I don't think you got. I mean, I had a sympathetic audience because I don't think anyone. I think everyone agreed with me, right? And they didn't agree with you, and that's where this issue that came up on DBN, which is just to address the elephant in the room here a little bit, which is no, I did not bribe him or attempt to bribe him to stop or to take a draw, but rather to offer an illustration of how ridiculous it was in my mind for him saying he would not have advanced with 14 to the next stage of the tournament by saying, if you don't make it to the next stage, if you don't make the top board, I'll give you $1,000, which everyone knew was a joke, and I later on said it wasn't U.S. currency. But I was using that to illustrate by hyperbole that there was no chance that you weren't going to make the top board. What I was trying to do was, I didn't think I would make the top board, but I was hoping for a top 10. I didn't get it. I was hoping for some, sliver of to take some positive away, which I try and do even when I don't play at my best, and as I've shown here, many errors, but some good fortune as well. And so will you clarify that it was just a joke?
Yeah, Ed, I wasn't trying to get you in trouble. The whole point of that was I like to come from a point of not being well known and getting on the board and getting to know everybody. And so I was just joking about how maybe it'd be better to just take the money and not go to the tournament. That way I could just keep playing and not have my name drug out there. And so that was the idea behind the joke. So but I hope I clarified it, but
you did clarify it.
Maybe it didn't come across that way. But no, I was having a lot of fun. That whole exchange. And I think Corey or one of the GMs was there with us, and we were all having a good time.
Corey was there. I did point that out.
No, it was pretty funny, Ed. I don't think nobody took it seriously. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's my way, right? I mean, I have a very odd sense of humor, and you either like it or you don't. And I try to bond with people in diplomacy, and I'm glad to hear that you took it okay, because I don't deploy anger as a tactic very much. And I did it here, and I'm glad that you saw it as just an effort to maximize my position here at the end and not to try and
and
get you out of the tournament.
Kind of where I was coming from was I had this idea from being in a game with Umbel before. I was France, and he was England. Daxmax was like Germany, and they teamed up against me with Italy, and they just took me out by like 1904. I was dead. And I remember at the end of that game, Russ was winning as England, and he kept telling everybody like, hey, I missed the tournament by just like a couple points. And so he was really pushing to get those few extra centers, and they really pushed back on him. And he ended up not taking STP. And I think it ended up working out for him in the end. I can't remember, but I just had that in the back of my mind, right? It's like I don't want to come all this way and then be a couple points short. So I felt really good about 15. And I think if I had everybody in the room still, I think we could have taken Bud and we could have got to that point. But I think since you were there with us, we're all on Table Talk. You were able to work your magic and turn everybody against that taking a center from you and ending at 15.
Well, Cry Me a River
You
qualified with the second highest points on the top board. I think you could have had 11 and still made the top board if I did my math correctly.
I don't know. I think all of us up there, because coming into this, a lot of people they topped their first board, and I was part of a four-way top. So I thought, I gotta go big and hard this game. I can't be. I can't leave points on the table. So that was kind of my mindset coming into it. But I think even all of us at those tops, below Peter McNamara, I think we were all just within a couple points of each other. It wasn't a big spread at all. But I love this. I just love what you did here, Ed. Gave away a center that wasn't yours. You got to keep Bud. You were able to clean up Russia a little bit, get a respectable score. I mean, I think this was, besides the big three-way stab, I think this was your biggest moment and my biggest favorite was the end of the game here. So well played.
Well, I mean, nice coming from the winner of this game, but the winner of the tournament, which was well deserved. I was happy to see how you played that game. I watched every second of the DBN broadcast. So congratulations on your win the next day. I like to think that I was a good sparring partner for the much better competition that you got on the top board. And thanks, John, for coming on. Thanks to diplomacybriefing.com. John, good night, and thank you so much for your commenting on this game.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ed. This was a ton of fun, and I really appreciate everything. And I think if you were on that top board with me, it would have ended a lot differently. So give yourself credit. You are a tough competitor.
Oh, my God. I don't know if this nice guy is an actor or it's just you're so nice, but you're killing me. You're doing it's amazing.
No, you don't give yourself enough credit, Ed. Let me tell you that.
That's my style. All right, John. Thanks so much. You have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Take care.